All right, I'm on site here at the Echo Race to World First, where they have gone dark. The facility is on lockdown. There are bands of security patrolling, but I'm smuggling this information out to you as we have day 10 of the Race to World First, the recap video series.
Okay, so we actually have a couple of things to talk about. First off, there's been some boss nerfs to Fyrakk. We're going to cover like how impactful they are. Does this affect the integrity of the race world first? You know, kind of just the general stuff that we talk about in regards to whenever nerfs happen. We're talking about some of the Phase 3 stuff because now both Liquid and Echo have seen into Phase 3. Liquid a little bit further than Echo on stream. So, I mean, we're gonna talk about like what we have seen from Phase 3, and then we're going to critique Echo going dark after we were praising Liquid for going dark yesterday. In addition to that, there was a YouTube comment that I want to shout out. They actually gave us some information because you and I were kind of talking about we didn't necessarily know why Liquid went dark because it didn't really make a lot of sense because it didn't come back with like insane strats or anything like that. And according to this user, according to Max during his live stream, he said that the going dark moment was mainly to test out different comps such as Vengeance Demon Hunter and didn't want Echo to get the information for free. And then they also reaffirmed saying they actually went really well. A lot of it was getting like Phase 1 intermission pretty consistent, coming up with like a nice weak aura and practicing in like they actually went and practiced some stuff in heroic like CC chains and strategies that make sure that they're going to be consistent with some of their later progression. They also tested out things like Vengeance Demon Hunter and Blood Decay, talked about the comp that they needed to run, and just didn't want to show Echo some stuff. If they were experimenting, they would rather have Echo be forced to experiment themselves.
And Echo did do a lot of that as well, like heroic work of practicing things, trying out Vengeance Demon Hunter for a little while because, of course, the sigils look so good for that intermission. But the problem with Vengeance Demon Hunter is that it griefs your comp because you have to find a way to get a second paladin in when you cut the prop paladin, which is not easy to do, right? Both Ret and a second holy are hard to do on this fight for a lot of reasons. So, yeah, the comp ends up not actually changing, even though the Vengeance would be really nice. It's just you can't really cut the Blood Decay and you can't really cut the prop pally. So, not something that either guild are currently using.
Okay, so as of right now, both Liquid and Echo are into P3 progression. Echo has stopped logging in competition mode, so this percentage that you see on screen right here, 53.7, was the last time that we actually saw them logging in competition mode. This is also the last stuff that they showed on stream, whereas Liquid's at 42 or 44.2%, which is a P3 pull that we have talked about. Let's talk about the nerfs. What do you think about the nerfs generally? So basically, the Colossus, which was that big rock dude that Dratnos and I were talking about, both of their health has been nerfed by 12%.
Yeah, so a very small nerf overall to the fight, but I think well targeted. Those ads required something like 4 million DPS split between like on both of them, so 2 targets. So it's a little bit less absurd than it sounds, but it's still quite a lot over the course of about 45 seconds to kill them before they explode. Now that's going down to about 3.5 million DPS, which is still a lot, but is a lot more feasible to actually get consistent because they had been killed before, but being able to kill 2 sets of them at that level. You can only bloodlust 1 if you were trying to do that. The cooldown set doesn't work out super great. It's a tough ask, and I think it was a good targeted nerf. The timing on the nerf also, fine. People will whine about nerf timings anytime they happen, but I think that with a nerf of this size, it was kind of towards the end of Echo's raid day, towards the start of Liquid's raid day, which maybe is slightly good for Liquid when a nerf comes out like that, but it's as what it is, right? There's no way to do a nerf that's not going to be somewhere different between the 2 days.
I mean, whenever we were talking about like scale of nerfs yesterday, we were talking about sometimes, you see a 20% boss HP nerf, and that's Blizzard taking a hammer to a boss. At the end of the day, this one is like a 12% health nerf that makes the fight more consistent. These aren't ads that were never killed before. These weren't ads that were not killable. It's something that whenever you reduce their health by 12%, you allow them to be killed consistently every single pull, and the guilds are going to be able to get through that phase a lot easier. And it's 12% HP on some ads, not even the boss, and it doesn't really change much in the landscape of what the boss is actually going to be doing.
Yeah, so I think overall good nerfs, and probably shaves a lot of pulls off of progression. And those would be those frustrating wipes to a phase that's early, that you've done, that you're not currently progging, but you can't get consistent with a number like the 90 million health that they started with.
All right, so Phase 3. So both guilds have entered Phase 3. with varying levels of how far into phase 3 they reached. So with Echo, they reached phase 3, but if we pause right here, you see the Heart of Amirdrasil died basically the moment that they reached phase 3, and they were able to see some of the stuff that was happening. This was the first time that any guild had seen phase 3. They were the first group, and so they saw a couple of things. Like I think they ended up seeing the seeds end up spawning. Actually, they don't even end up seeing the seeds spawning. They die before the seeds start spawning. But this was actually about the time that,
is the first P3. Yeah.
This was the time that they went dark. Now there were some things that were actually learned about this, and you'll see in a second that Liquid basically watched Echo's P3 attempt and realized that you need to grip this tree. There is a walking tree, and this guy is slow, and you're going to need to rescue him forward. And so then whenever Liquid has their run-in with what phase 3 is supposed to be looking like, they know that they need to be like rescuing the tree forward to make sure that it actually contacts the Heart of Amirdrasil early.
Yeah, so they don't run out of health there on Amirdrasil, which is a silly way for a wipe to happen, but a pretty funny one. And both rescue and grip work for that. The boss lands once again and P3 starts. And we have the seeds now spawning, which they're on Mythic. There are different types of seeds, right? There's the happy seeds and the sad seeds.
That's a great way of describing them.
Yeah. So it looks like it spawns just the 5 happy seeds at first. Is that
yes? That is correct.
And then how do the sad seed? Is that when you use a happy seed? Does it turn into a sad seed?
It turns into a sad seed on the ground. Yes,
I see.
And you actually are able to see it here by Liquid in just a few moments. Is whenever Fyrakk reaches the 100 energy, this is kind of similar to the heroic mechanic. Your group is going to have to stack up and use one of that. I guess you would describe them as happy seeds, and it leaves this green patch on the ground. After a certain period of time, this green patch turns into a large fire puddle.
Yeah, look at that. The red.
Yep.
And then,
some people died
fire
to
puddle.
I think some people died to standing in it because they didn't realize it was going to explode and kill them.
And then is it creating 2 unhappy seeds in it? Yeah, it looks like it is, right?
Yeah.
Or is that just 2 seeds getting burned? Okay.
Oh, maybe it's the seeds getting burned. I actually thought it might have been creating the unhappy seeds inside of it, but I think that now that you say they're getting burned, I think that has to be correct. I think people died inside of it and their seeds. Oh, yeah, that would make sense,
because if your seed gets hit by something, because we know there's corrupted seeds in P3, which
yes.
don't do anything useful for you. You can't use them to make a shield, but you do also have to protect them from any mechanics, or else they wipe your raid, just like the regular seeds. And they pulse damage on the raid if they're on the ground, or on the person carrying them if they're being carried, and they ramp up in damage over time. But yeah, I guess we still don't know exactly what those look like, or at least I didn't see them in those clips.
I assumed it was going to be a random seed. So Liquid after this has actually turned off their comms. Whatever.
Yeah.
They're still streaming progression. They're still live on everything. They just
I wouldn't be surprised if they end up going dark as well as they approach the end of their raid night. That tends to be the best time to go dark, right? Is because like you're about to go to bed. The other team is about to have their prog going for the day, right? Like, there's that is the time where streaming does the most damage to your chances of winning, which, yeah.
And I mean, there is a chance that one of the seeds was pulsing damage on a player, and we wouldn't be able to tell unless we were looking at logs. And it might just be something like that, where we wouldn't know unless, like, the guild says it, but they've turned off their comps. And so it's like, this is not atypical in any fashion. I think that this is something that happens from time to time as well. Echo, very well known for turning comms off.
Yeah, Echo spent most of the race with comms muted, or most of the end of the race at least with comms muted historically.
Yeah.
That's something that they just don't like worrying about leaking information or people, feeling weird about stuff being said or anything like that. So
that's how it be.
Which I guess brings us to our discussion of just going dark in general, right?
Were you awake for this whenever they made the decision, or were you still asleep?
No, I woke up like an hour ago or something, so I missed a lot of this. But I do know that they were a couple days ago talking about how they weren't planning to go dark, but of course those plans do change when you reach the situation where, oh wow, we're seeing P3, the other team isn't there yet, we're about to go to bed. Like, all right, let's turn these streams off, right? Like there's we'll pull for some amount of time off stream and not leak that information.
I mean, it's quite beneficial, okay, for you to be able to turn off your streams. And I think that having the support structure to be able to make the decision to turn off your stream, whether it be monetarily, whether it be knowing that nothing bad is going to happen if you turn off your stream for a short period of time, that's actually a pretty good thing. And that is a bit comforting that both of the guilds feel like they are in a position organizationally to where they're able to turn off their streams. As a viewer, it kind of sucks. I do enjoy the 24 hours of Race World First coverage that I'm typically afforded. Especially whenever one guild turns off their stream. Typically one guild is turning their streams on almost immediately after, and so having that 24 hours of coverage is normally pretty nice. Now I will say I do understand why it happens. I think at the end of the day it sucks if you're a viewer. I understand being upset about it. It's going to probably continue to happen, and there's not really much that we can really do about it.
Yeah, it is going to be. I mean, again, like you're well within your rights to be unhappy about either team turning their streams off and being like, I don't want to support this anymore. I don't want to watch this anymore. You know, that is a you decision that you can make. But it is worth noting that 2 of 2 teams that have been in the lead in the Race to World First in the past few years have turned off their streams when they believe it is to their advantage to do so, and then when they believe it is sufficiently to their advantage to do so. So. There are some teams out there that haven't turned off streams, but those teams haven't been ahead ever, right? Those are the ones that haven't had an incentive to. And I suspect if any other team did suddenly miraculously find themselves at 10% on Fyrakk and about to go to bed, there's a decent chance they wouldn't want to show those polls. So
I mean, I do understand the sentiment of like losing some of the hype and the following alongside the Race to World First because the streams get turned off. At the end of the day, though, no guild is ever killing an end boss off stream. That's just
right.
I feel like if that happened, it would be catastrophic. Honestly, I think it would be so bad if somebody killed a boss off, like an end boss off stream. I don't think that that's likely, though.
Yeah, I mean, what would happen is if somebody like say Liquid at 6 p.m. their time is like, all right, we're making good prog, we're getting deep into the phase, we don't want to show any more of this. Let's turn off our streams. And then at like 11 p.m. they get like a 5% pull, and they're like, okay, we're maybe about to kill this boss. They would do one of 2 things, right? They would either go for a short sleep and then wake up and turn on streams and try and kill the boss, or they would just turn on streams. The streams are coming back on. Yeah, exactly. Like you're not getting that off stream. I do wish that there was some way, like it would be cool if the guilds would agree to like record their, what they're doing when they go dark and then play it, before they wake up. Like say you're waking up at 8 a.m. and you went dark for 2 hours last night, like at 6 a.m., just have the casters come in and have the footage from yesterday when they went dark up, something like that. I think that could be a decent middle ground, so we don't like lose the footage of it at least, and we do get to see what was done.
So, I mean, you and I have worked on productions, pretty much all of the productions at this point. Maybe not, we haven't worked on Liquid one, but I suspect that it works very similar to the Complexity one.
It works similar to some of the same production people.
Yeah, it works similar to the Method one. It works similar to how the Echo one works right now. They have the footage of all of these. Like the footage is locally stored, or it may not be recorded like specifically, but they have the footage. And I mean, there was a boss that was killed off stream for Complexity Limit back in Nathri, the council boss. They just played the footage for it. Like there was a kill video, a few hours later. It was like,
I think we only had like one POV though, which was like, oops, we should have had more of this being recorded. But yeah.
Well, they didn't realize that they were going to kill the boss like randomly, but also like,
of course.
I think that was the last time like a mid tier boss has even been like strats.
And it was like a 10-pull boss or something.
Yeah, they've kind of just like stopped even like worrying about 10-pull bosses. They just kind of full send the beginning of the raid because they know it's not that big of a deal.
And I think there's enough respect between both Liquid and Echo to note that, like, okay, our lair and our strat is not going to be groundbreaking. And I guess at this point also they both reached it after ID had already killed it. But, it's like, all right, we respect the other team enough here to not hide from them something that is already going to be obvious to them. But Fyrakk, obviously an entirely different beast. So is something where both guilds don't want the other team to know for free what they've learned.
I think Echo's actually really starting to catch up. I thought that Liquid had a bit of an inconsistent early day. I know that you were asleep during it. I thought that at the end of their night last night, they had the best pull out of any guild so far, and then they went to bed. They went to bed pretty early, actually, just so they could get more sleep, because it sounded like they were really running low on steam. They'd been pushing. They were only getting I think 6 or 7 hours of sleep is what it sounded like every single night. And so they went to bed a little bit early after a really, really good pull where they almost saw phase 3 I think they were even able to kill the rock guys as well, the mobs that have been nerfed. But then coming into today, they were getting stuck in phase 1 and like the intermissions and stuff like that. They were not having like a great morning. It seems like
it's got to be exacerbated by how good Echo's day was, right? And like Echo, Echo were smashing. At least when I was awake early in Echo's day, P1, P2, or the P1 and the first intermission were locked down for them, which was really good.
I mean, it seems like Liquid's turning it around, right? Like, you're allowed to have a medium to medium bad half of a day and still win the race to world first. This is not even like problematic. It was just more like yesterday it looked like Liquid was firmly in the lead. Now it feels like Echo's caught up a decent amount, and that's kind of how it happened.
At this point, like it feels like Echo are going to bed at question mark on the boss, but as they were going to bed, right, they had that first P3 pull, right, so they were ahead at the end of their day, which is not something that's been true for most of this race to world first, right? Like even on Tindril, when they were briefly ahead in the middle of their day, I think they were behind again by the time they went to bed. So
I think this is the first time where they're about even with Liquid. Now Liquid still has, I don't even know, probably 6 more hours to prog today, and so they could actually really just accelerate how fast
they could do a lot of work in that 6 hours. And honestly, like Echo can't be 100% confident that they'll wake up and world first will still be available, but at this point you're like 95% confident that you're waking up and the boss isn't dead yet. But you know, P3 might not be the hardest phase, right? Sometimes that does happen where P1 and P2 are hard, and then P3 is easy.
P3 would have to flop. I mean, it's happened before, but I think
it has happened before. And the thing about P3 is that it doesn't look like there's like that much different between the start of P3 and the end of P3, where you have to learn different overlaps and stuff. It looks like it's kind of just the dance continues
with the seeds. So,
yeah. I mean, that may well be I don't think it's super likely, but I do think Echo won't be resting easy tonight or anything like that. But we may be looking at them waking up and trying to kill the boss tomorrow. Tomorrow could be the day for Echo to try and win this thing. And it may be a case of like when you go to bed tomorrow, you're maybe waking up dead.
I mean, I think that seems more likely with kind of I mean, there could be anything that happens towards the end of the boss. I mean, there's 50% of the boss's HP that both of these guilds still have to chew through. What is
which we have to see, is there a tight enrage as well?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what does the enrage even look like on this kind of a fight?
You do the fight all perfectly, and then you wipe it 10% to enrage. It's like, oh wow, we have to figure out how to 3-heal this, right? Like, okay.
1.5 billion HP. This fight is a beast.
Yeah. So it's not messing around at all.
All right.
So yeah, it should be cool to see the rest of it. Hopefully we don't have too much more streams going dark as we near the end of the encounter, but I wouldn't be surprised if both teams do a little bit more at the end of their respective raid days. Just hopefully it's once the other team is already awake and pulling. Although I guess for Liquid, the problem is whenever Liquid goes dark, Echo's already asleep as well. Whereas whenever Echo goes dark, it's like the start of Liquid's day. So at least there's something to see. And so it does. I don't know. I mean, I agree. It does kind of suck as a viewer that it's happening. It's something that in a perfect world we could get the two teams like sequestered from the outside internet, unable to watch each other's streams, and then just stream the full time, and that would be so good, but obviously not remotely feasible.
I mean, I think some of the best stuff for viewership experience would also never happen. Like I think the best thing for viewership experience would have both Liquid and Echo at the same venue, and then kind of playing simultaneously and stuff like that as well, right? Not even just sequester, but like at the same venue, the same stakes are on the line. It's like there'd be a lot of different things if the race world first were fair and balanced, but at the end of the day, I think
it's not. Yeah.
It's not, and the guilds should literally operate in what they believe are their best interests. And I think that if they think that turning off their streams for a couple of hours is seriously going to improve their chances of winning the race world first, they probably should do it, and they've proven that they will.
Yeah, that's I think we both agree.
Yep. Anyways,
all right.
I think that's it. Tomorrow might be the end of the series. I would be.
Could be. We'll see.
Maybe a little bit surprised.
Tomorrow is the first day where I think it could be over. I don't think it's necessarily super likely, but I think it could be over by this time tomorrow, and I think it's probably likely it'll be over within 48 hours from now.
I agree with that.
Not guaranteed, of course. Still a decent chance that it goes longer.
Mm-hmm. I think that it's likely to be over within 48 hours. All right, so the end is finishing. Make sure you watch the race rule first to see how it unfolds, and I'm really interested to see how Liquid's going to be progging within the next few hours, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye.